Hello and welcome to another University of Lincoln Live Lounge. Today we've got a special programme talking all about student life, whether that's campus life and what it's like to live in Lincoln. I'm Finn Gray, your host. I'm a first year journalism student and I'm joined by...
I'm Ash Walker. I've just finished my second year in film production.
I'm Ahmed Mahmood and I am doing Master of Pharmacy and it's my third year of studies.
I'm Emily and I'm a first year student midwife.
So without further ado, let's jump right in there. So the first question is about campus life, and that's the sort of topic we're going to be covering for the first part of this session. So this question is directed to all of you, so just pass the microphone down the line. What was the main reason that you chose to study at Lincoln? What made you choose to study here?
I chose to study here because my teachers took me on multiple school trips around Lincoln just to view the university campus, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And so I put it down as my insurance choice and I got in and I've loved it ever since.
Yeah, so back in sixth form while I was doing my A-level studies, one of my teachers that I was quite close with highly recommended to come to Lincoln. So I was able to apply here and I got into Lincoln, and ever since I've very much enjoyed it and it's been the time of my life.
So I went through clearing and one of my friends recommended the course to me. She said that the campus was just like lovely. It was so integrated into the city, and she said that the course, like the facilities that they had for my course, was like just one of the best in the country.
I must say that, the university was my first choice to come, actually. And I did my research before I came here. I came here 3 separate times on 3 different open days and, thoroughly map out where I'd be living. I even went and saw my exact room, so I knew, if there were any problems with it before I moved in. And I also went round and I had some calls and chats with some of my tutors to see what was in store for me. So let's move on to the next question. Emily, I believe this is for you. So how did you find moving into your accommodation? I believe you're at St. Mark's?
Yeah, I am at St. Mark's. I thought it was a really easy process. We have an hour to move in, so we have different slots on moving day. And for that hour, I had to move everything in with the massive silver cages the university gives you. It was really smooth, and we got our keys and everything at reception. And yeah, and then after I went out for a meal, my family went to the town, and it was really fun.
What's it like living at St. Mark's?
Is really secure because you have 27 security, which you can always call for whenever you need. And my flatmates are amazing. I loved living with them this year.
What about you guys? Where do you live? Do you live in student accommodation?
So when I got into Lincoln, I thought about living outside of campus before I got into going onto the campus. So I've lived externally. And to be fair, I very much enjoyed it. And I live with a few of my friends, and the flat itself is quite comfortable. And the thing about Lincoln is, if you don't end up getting accommodation anywhere, there is so many different options. There are houses you can apply to. There are private companies, but university campus is quite good as well. But again, there's so many options. So I've stayed at the same place for the past 3 years. I've just loved it. So yeah.
So I was in St. Mark's, like Emily, in my first year, and I still live with some of those same people now in a rented house.
I must say, I live in a private accommodation, but one thing I am envious of is I think it's a free gym membership if you live in the university
See, I didn't know
accommodation.
that when I lived in St. Mark's.
See, I didn't know that, so
I
I'm
could
hoping
take
to
full
inform all of
advantage of
you
it.
guys, because honestly, I wish I'd have known. Otherwise, I would have moved into university accommodation.
I don't use it enough, but yeah.
So next question, guys, is directed to all of you. Is there anything you recommend bringing to university? So whether that's stuff like, I don't know, an iPad, a laptop, pencil cases, or like just anything really.
I would say one of those like Soctopus. So like when you do your washing and you like hang it up, you can like clip all your socks like round this thing, so it takes up like way less space. Because sometimes like circuit laundry, like you're not gonna want to like wait an hour, or like sometimes it might be too expensive out of your budget. So like if you want an error, like and you just get them from Amazon. But they were really helpful in my
Do you
first
not just
year.
put your socks in the dryer?
No, because it was sometimes you lose your socks in the dryer.
Oh, well,
yeah.
There's always that.
So I've recently made the shift from moving from laptop to iPad. Game changer, guys. Game changer, honestly. So for my studies as a pharmacy student, you do need some sort of device with you in your lectures. And that shift from taking a heavy-duty iPad, a laptop even, to an iPad, it's so much easier and so much more convenient. And I just recommend it to you guys too.
I recommend Crocs. I love Crocs so much, but oh my god, you need them for when you go to when you go into the kitchen or even just walk in to do your laundry. You need Crocs. They're the best thing. They're only like 40 quid, so get
See,
hands on them.
I'm not on the Crocs team. I'm on the Adidas sliders
Oh.
team. You know, I've got some of those. I've had them for
You need,
years.
you need to put them on sports mode. You can't
Sports
run in
mode.
them.
You don't need sports mode to walk to the kitchen. Right, anyway, let's move on to the next question before we digress any further. So, Ahmed, this is for you. What activities are you involved with outside of your studies?
Quite a lot. So obviously, with a lot of students that come into Lincoln or even just university in general, their main thought of outside of their study would be societies, and I've been quite involved with societies. So during my second year, I actually took part in a society, and I actually ran the society as the president. It was very fun. So it's just me and my friends. We all decided that it's for a good cause, and then we did so many good events, to the extent that one of our events we had over 341 or 42 people attend, and we fed everyone there free of charge, with special thanks to the university chaplaincy
Very
team.
generous.
The chaplaincy team that helped us a lot, and the university itself helped with the funding, but we were able to feed over 340 people in our events. We did a lot of events, some in person, some online. But yeah, societies is part of my student life here, and last year I did quite a lot in terms of society work. And then there's other societies that I'm part of, but not as a committee member. So, for example, the Pharmacist Society, many thanks to them, they've run quite a lot of good events. And there's another society I'm involved with, the RX Runners. So that's a running society. Although it doesn't look like I run much, but I did enjoy the events they had this year, and hopefully more events. But yeah.
Ash, question for you now. So, how do you find the study spaces on campus, and which one is your favourite?
Okay. Well, I really love the library. We actually did a fiction film. We filmed some of our shots there. And I just love the library. Like, I love the way that sort of they've mixed modern architecture with like old architecture. And then also as a film student, we have like dedicated edit suites. That's one of my favorite places on campus, because you can just book it out just for yourself and just sit in there in this little sort of room, and just like really just get on with it. And they have like speakers, and it's just a really nice place to be.
Honestly, sometimes I think the library is too cozy. I end up falling asleep while trying to do my work. But what about you guys? What are your favourite places to study on campus?
So one of my favorite places to study during the summer is, so while it's hot, I love sitting outside in the sun. So if you guys know the medical building, the LMS, Lincoln Medical School, so we have a beautiful pond and a pitch of grass. So it's just quite a cozy place to sit down and enjoy the sun while reading or making any notes or anything as such. I do tend to get a bit lazy and just sit in the sun, but it is such a nice place. You get the swans walking past you, and you get the pond in front of you, and it's a very nice place, and probably my go-to.
I really like the library because, again, obviously it's quite cozy. But I do like going to Towers in the beer garden, sitting there with my laptop out with a pint of Coke, because that's just a bit of me. We're chatting with my friends in the sun.
Now, I'm assuming that you guys have tried or have part-time jobs. How do you find balancing that with your studies? Do you think it's hard, easy?
Well, because I've recently got a part-time job again. I had one before, but then I had to quit because obviously I do placement. And so with it now, I find it a lot easier to balance out all my time, and obviously having the social life as well. But sometimes it's just a bit nice to just chill.
Ahmed?
So coming into university, I think funding was an issue. Money's just hard for students. So part-time job, I do recommend for students to apply for a part-time job. Personally, I do quite a few actually. So in terms of part-time jobs, initially I found it quite difficult. I've got so much uni work. At the same time, I've got work, and then I've got family to balance, and then friends. So it can be difficult initially, but once you get into that flow and you plan your weeks, like I started planning my weeks from Monday to Friday, then what I do on the weekends. But yeah, now I've been able to do multiple jobs, and the jobs I'm doing are quite easy to do. Like, for example, I'm an interpreter, so I translate for people as a Kurdish student. So I can do that just through my phone, which is quite easy to do. I also do like locuming as a pharmacist, which again, it's quite easy to do. I'll do that once or twice a week. It's a part-time job. But even as a student ambassador, I find it quite easy to balance my life with my studies as well if you just plan. So I do recommend people to find a part-time job.
Ash, what about you?
So I work with the university marketing team, and I went through campus jobs. I really do recommend going through campus jobs. You can find so many different things. They don't just have like jobs that are inside the university. They sort of market jobs that are outside the university in the city, sort of bartending work, like stuff like that. I had a job at home, which I've just quit from the summer, because I wanted to stay in Lincoln because I just love Lincoln so much. But yeah, I found it quite easy. I think, as Amma said, like scheduling is really important. Just like knowing when you're doing your job, especially if your hours are like flexible, that really helps too.
Now, home is a perfect segue into our next section, which is living in Lincoln. I know a few people in the comments have asked, what's the nightlife all about? So home is one of the clubs in Lincoln. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it's like nightlife-wise in Lincoln?
Okay,
I think we've got a
nightlife.
video too.
Yeah, so nightlife is great. I think we are a very good city for bars, which not a lot of cities are. So we have like Trebles. We have like, what else do we have? Craft. Yeah, that's sorry, where Emily works. We have like plenty. Like we have like so many bars. And then home is our like main nightclub. It has 6 floors, which is pretty cool. Coming from Norwich, we don't really have that many great clubs, so it was really nice to come somewhere that has like themed nights too, which was really cool.
Now, moving away from sort of clubs, what's the live music scene like? And all of you can chip into this if you want.
Yeah, so I've been to quite a lot of gigs and like concerts while I've been here. They do quite a lot of stuff at Acado, which is like a gaming bar. They do like live music downstairs. I've been sort of the south end of Lincoln, where I can't remember the actual venue name, but it was a converted church, and I've been to some concerts there, so it's been really cool.
Fortunately, I'm a bit not as interesting. I'm a bit boring when it comes to that sort of aspect of nightlife and stuff. But I've been out with a few of my friends a few times. But Lincoln, in terms of its nightlife and the scene, when it comes to music, whenever it's Fridays and Saturday nights, you guys know, whenever you take a walk through the town, you see so many people and everyone's happy, and it's just, it feels like a warm feeling walking through town, and you see so many people out, and it's quite a fun and safe and secure feeling as well. Like I don't ever have fear or feel anxious or anything as such. Everyone's very welcome and everyone's very warm and polite.
I haven't typically been out to like live music events because I'm a clubbing type of gal. But I know at the moment Ollie Murs is performing at the Castle, and I know they do a lot of events at the Castle as well. And yeah, I just feel like, as we said before, with walking through Lincoln at night, it's a very safe city. Like as a girl going through a city at night, like you just feel really safe, especially because I'm walking from St. Mark's and everything to St. Mark's. It's a lot. It's just comfort.
Now, we're just going to deviate slightly from the schedule because we've got some great questions up in the comments section. So from TFSMF2, they've asked, are there many green spaces around Lincoln, preferably within walking distance from campus? So I know that there are. You know, I actually discovered one the other day called the West Common. It's pretty large, and, you know, there are quite a lot of people that go there, but I will leave it to you guys to add some more.
I know there's a lot of green spaces. I can't tell you what names of the parks they are, but you can drive there. If you've got a car when you come to uni, there's like a 5-minute drive to one of them, and another one's a bit further down. I don't know if you guys know the name, but
I must say that you don't need a car to access many of these places, because everywhere within Lincoln, it seems like a 10-minute walk away. Even if it isn't, it feels like a 10-minute walk away.
Again, with the green spaces, in terms of the ones on campus, again, that green space I'm talking about with the pond outside, that bit of grass over there. Sometimes we play football on there as well with the ball going into the water. But in terms of off campus, there are, again, like he's just said right now, West Common. That's a nice place to go to. And just walking in Lincoln in general, it's quite green, if you notice. Yeah, I get there's an urban sense to it as well, but if I'm not mistaken, it's called Cart Home Country Park, if you guys have ever been. Yeah. So, yeah, Cart Home Country Park, guys. It is very fun. There's a lot of lakes, water, there's greenery, animals, wildlife, everything there. Wonderful.
So there's quite a few up the hill by the cathedral. There's the oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called now. Temple Gardens,
That's the
which is
one.
really lovely. I live near Licorice Park, which has like a little picnic area. There's like some really nice views, like 'cause it's quite up the hill, like over the city. I'm also by West Common. There's South Common. There's Arboretum. I think that's how you say it.
Arboretum Park.
Yes, which is really nice. And it's just like a really nice, like you can see that the council has sort of integrated that within the city, which is really nice.
Now we've just got another question from David Hay in the chat asking if we are in the LAC. We are not. We are in our bespoke student
Yes, we
studio,
are.
which is part of, we touched on earlier about
Special live
campus
lounge,
jobs.
yes.
So we're all part of the marketing team here, and we help put on events just like this so we can give back to you guys. So let's go back to the schedule. Without further ado, if there are many more questions, please feel free to put them in the comments and we'll get to them. But how do we find sort of the shopping scene in Lincoln then? So Ash, Emily, I believe this one's for you two.
I am a big shopper. I love shopping. It's my like exercise. So I love charity shops too. So there's really good charity shops in Lincoln, just up the high street. You could just walk up and there's like every other shop. I feel like there's a charity shop, which is really good. So we don't have like big name brands. So we don't have like some like
Zara.
stuff you'll see like in like Nottingham or something like that. But that's what I've done previously. I've taken the train, which is like 50 minutes to Nottingham, and I've gone to like Urban Outfitters. I've gone to Sheffield, I've gone to IKEA, which is brilliant. So those places are available. But Lincoln is really good for like retro shops, like vintage, which I really love. So.
I also agree with you on that. There is a lot of charity shops, and there's also a lot of independent shops. So if you walk up the hill a bit more further up the top, and it's a bit of a workout, but you've got cute little shops, like they've got the fudge shop, the cheese shop, the pie shop as well. And yeah, there's just really cute independent shops. And then there's a lot of cafes. I know they're not shops, they're cafes. And then you've got some like bigger name brands like New Look and H&M and M&S, if you ever fancy an M&S sweet treat.
Now, I must jump in on this charity shop matter because I have a bit of an anecdote about that. So I went to go buy a suit and I bought a suit and it was quite expensive, and then found a incredibly similar suit in a charity shop the next day for 1/10 of the price. So I must say, make sure to go around and do your shopping because it can save you quite a bit of money. Now, we've got some more questions in the chat. We've got one from Josiah. Apologies if that's not pronounced correctly, saying, are there job openings in the student unions? We can't comment on that because the student union is a separate entity from the university, but if you visit their website, I'm sure that there will be some advertisements on there for you. How cheap is it to get things at Lincoln, such as going out for drinks, shopping, etc.? Which shops are any good? That's from Jay. I'd say it's quite cheap. I think we're one of the cheapest cities to live in, university-wise, in the UK. I honestly can't say for definite, but I think it was maybe the 7th or 8th cheapest when I saw the other day some research. What do you guys think?
Like, if you're on a night out, like if you're going to Craft, for example, £3.50 doubles, and then you've also, for different types of shops, there's just regular price type of thing. But then the independent ones, they're slightly more expensive just because they are independent businesses, but that's what you'd expect. But other than that, like the uni accommodation, I feel like that's pretty cheap for a uni accommodation, like compared to other universities. It's a lot more cheaper. And
the thing is, you've always got support as well. So if you're ever in financial hardship, you can visit the student support team at the university who can help you out. But I'm just going to jump in really, really quickly and mention that on the notion of nightlife, all the different clubs and bars and all sorts, they all do sort of, if you follow their social media, not that we're plugging them in any way, shape or form, but if you follow their social media, they do a variety of different sort of deals, nights. You know, we have Union Tuesday up at home, I think. We have Super Bowl as well, which is also at home. I'm not a rep from home. I would just like to clarify that. It's just the one that I can remember. But yes, let's go to Ahmed. What do you think?
In terms of my student shopping, little.
Yeah.
Again, we're not advertising for any corporate companies, but in terms of your grocery shoppings and stuff, well, it's not that far away. It's about a 20-minute walk with the boys. It's not that bad. Or you get one of your friends to drive you there.
Yeah.
It's cheap, convenient, and again, with the renting here in Lincoln compared to nearby cities such as Nottingham, we're looking at maybe half the price in certain instances. Like it's quite expensive around us, and we are like a hidden gem in terms of pricing. But I'm very happy in terms of student life. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Ash, what about you? What do you think?
I think we are one of the cheapest cities to live in, but we don't compromise quality. So, like, a lot of our shops are really good standard. Our accommodation is really good standard. Also, buses is really good in Lincoln too. They're actually quite reliable, other than other places. But yeah, that's my input for that question.
Now, we have another question in the chat from German who says, what about Lincoln stands out more than any other uni? Now, I must say, I think it's beautiful living here, I must say. You know, I walk around at night, in the mornings, in the evenings, you know, all sorts, just looking at all the different sites. You know, I take a camera with me, do a bit of photography, and it really lifts my spirits, you know, especially when studying tends to get a little bit hard. What about you guys? What's your
I think we have
thoughts?
a really good balance of like city life and just like just I don't know, I don't like urban and not rural, like yeah. So like we in London you could like walk half an hour and you're still on the same like road. In Lincoln you walk half an hour and you're in like a park. It's so I think that's really lovely.
And also in West Common, as we mentioned before, they have horses there, which is very nice. But yeah, I feel like Lincoln is probably like, even like with your tutors and stuff, like I feel like my tutors have been supportive. For example, if I want feedback on my essays, then they're really supportive in that. And then obviously as a student midwife or a student nurse or something, the simulation suites even are a lot better here compared to some other unis I visited, and they're very cultural, like even with the different skin tones of the simulation dummies and stuff, are very culturally diverse compared to other universities.
Now, we have a bit of a subjective question or objective. I can't remember which way around that goes, but from Josiah, who asks, which of the student accommodation is the best?
St.
Now, I'm
Mark's.
going to sit
St.
out
Mark's.
for this
St.
one
Mark's, guys.
because I live in private, so I wouldn't want to sway. So
St.
let's-
Mark's.
the thing is, have you lived in any of the other ones?
I've been to the other ones, and I recommend St. Mark's is probably one of the cleanest ones in my opinion, and it is one of the newer ones. High Street is smaller in my opinion. Valentine, the rooms are bigger, and they give more of a house type of feel, but then St. Mark's give more of a halls, clean, and I like the views of St. Mark's.
I'd just like to jump in and say that, you know, our student accommodation isn't terrible. It's just, you know, one isn't less good than the others in that case. It's more of a different vibe compared to, like we were just saying there with the halls, and then some of them feel more like flats. What about you guys? What do you think?
Honestly, I've been in all of them. Not lived in any, but I've visited friends in all of the different accommodations on campus. And like you just said, they all give a similar vibe and similar feel, and they're all very good. Not that one's better than the other, but it's just in terms of one feels more like a halls type of accommodation. One might feel a bit more like a house accommodation. It just really depends what you prefer.
So I think Signet Wharf and St. Mark's were probably the closest to each other. They feel more like halls. Pine Mill, I think, is that owned by?
I think that's
I think
private.
So Valentine, feels more like a house. But I also think I would recommend finding out where your lectures would be. So a lot of my lectures are in Alfred Tennyson Building, which is like for like media and journalism and stuff like that, which is closest to Signet Wharf. And I lived in St. Mark's, so I had to like walk over the bridge, which was fine. But I think like knowing where your lecture is going to be will help you choose your accommodation.
And Valentine has parking.
Yeah, Valentine has parking for anyone that didn't hear that. I must say, I chose where I lived just because it was the closest building to where my lectures are, because as a university student, I think it's imperative that you push the limit of how late you can get
make
up.
that 9 a.m.
Like, no matter how late you get up, as long as you can make that 9 a.m., that's all that matters. So let's get back to the schedule before we deviate any further. So what sort of discounts should students know about in the future? This is a question for all of you.
Okay, download Student Beans and Uni Days. I can't think of any more apps, but they will get you stuff off like online in restaurants. One of my favorite restaurants, Pho, they do a student discount. They do 20% off Wagamama's student discount, which Wagamama's is like very expensive, but we all love it. So that's like a good discount to sort of know about.
As a big foodie, I do enjoy going to a lot of takeaways and whatnot. Most takeaways in Lincoln, most, not all, do student discount if you just ask on the counter. They may not advertise for it, which is the thing. So when you get to the payment section, you just ask them student discount, and they'll end up giving you a student discount. But in terms of the small businesses and small owners, they're all very polite and quite giving back to the community, which I prefer rather than big companies. But on our high street, a lot of the food stores there, they are very warm, welcoming, and they feel like family. So they do a lot of student discounts.
You've got a lot of student discounts on, you know, the bigger bits as well, because obviously online with student beans and stuff like that. So you've got student discounts there, and you've also got student discounts on Just Eat. You get free delivery, I'm pretty sure. I know you do with Nationwide if you're looking at student finance, student bank accounts.
There are all sorts of benefits that students can, you know, get a hold of.
Especially a night
like,
out as well. If you ask, then they'll give you a student discount.
It just goes back to that old mantra, you know, you don't ask if you don't get. No.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
There we go. That's
Yeah.
it, you know. So let's move on before I hit another monumental blunder. We've sort of touched on this before, but are there any sort of nice green spaces to walk on campus? I know that just outside the medical school building, there are, you know, there's a big field where I see plenty of people playing football, rugby, you know, tennis, having picnics. I even saw a guy with a guitar serenading some of the people there the other week. So what do you guys think?
I think there is quite a lot of green spaces, and as I said about towers, you've got the outside garden, like in the Swan as well, which is another pub on campus. They also have the outdoor areas where you can sit there too. And right outside the library, they've got, you know, where the student union is, they've got the trees where you can sit underneath for your picnics and stuff like that. And even at the cathedral, there's green spaces there. I know that's not on campus, but, you know.
Yeah, pretty much we've covered most of the green spaces that we have on campus, but even off campus, that's the great thing about the University of Lincoln. We're surrounded by so much greenery in general. With Westcombe, it's not that far, again, 15, 20 minutes walk, but like you said previously, half an hour in Lincoln will end you somewhere very different. I remember I had my AirPods in, and I just went for a walk for about 45 minutes to an hour, and I ended up almost completely out of Lincoln. Like, I was heading towards Saxelby. Like, I was like, oh, hang on a minute, might have to take the train back.
I think on campus it is quite a lot of there's a lot of places to sit, especially like now it's sunny. It's very nice to sit in the sun. And even in winter, because when I lived in St. Mark's, like when it was snowing, it was really nice to like walk onto campus and just see it covered in like this white blanket of snow. It was just, it's just lovely.
Now we're heading into our final question now, which is, if you had to say one thing, what would be your favorite thing about the university? Mine, I have to say, would be that I do journalism, and we have an entire floor dedicated to journalism with every resource you could ever want. And we also have, you know, plenty of wonderful tutors who have had industry experience that can disseminate their knowledge into you. So, you know, you're best set up for the future. What about you guys?
I think my favorite thing about like studying here is like the opportunities I've been given on my course. Like we've made so many films, including like documentaries and different like fiction films. I think that just like the variety of stuff. Like I thought, oh, I want to be a director when I came to uni, and now I've sort of discovered that I'd rather be on the producing side. So being able to do lots of different things has really helped like me discover my passion of what I want to do in my career.
Honestly, I can't say just the one thing. I have to make it 2 comments, guys. Sorry. In terms of my course-related thing, my favorite thing about doing MPharm here at Lincoln specifically is, here at Lincoln, the MPharm course that we do makes us become one of the first ever prescribing pharmacies. So instead of previously in other universities would have to study further on and become a prescriber, here in Lincoln, upon graduation, we become the first set of prescribing pharmacists, making us on par with GPs, and we're able to prescribe your medication. And then my second favorite thing, not to do with my course, would be the fact that I just really enjoy the city itself. It always just feels so much sunnier here for some reason. Like whenever I'm on call with my mom, hey mom, how's home? Oh, it's raining. Well, it's very hot here. Like, I enjoy the weather here. I just enjoy the people, and I've made it a vow to myself to come back to Lincoln once a year, every year, just to experience this life.
I really, again, like going back to my course, I really like the fact that we've got the simulation suites. especially because and with Sarah Swift, which is one of the main buildings we're in, they've just got rooms and rooms and rooms just full of simulations, which is really important, obviously, if you're training, especially if you're training to take bloods and injections and stuff like that.
Now, I tell a lie because that is not going to be our last question because we've had another good one in the chat that I thought we'd just get to before we end. So this is from Bosch. She's asking, has anyone here had Lincoln as their insurance and still managed to get decent accommodation or know someone who did? How convenient you've got the microphone.
Yeah. So obviously I went through got into Lincoln through my insurance choice. And basically what you do is obviously on UCAS, you just accept the offer from them. Then you get an automated email that opens up the accommodation portal for you for obviously when you apply for the accommodation. And then because some of my friends beforehand at work, they already came to Lincoln. So we were already talking about the accommodation. They said they like St. Mark's. And so they come up with photos, obviously, to view. And St. Mark's was available, luckily.
So that's everything for our live lounge today. I'd like to thank you all for coming along and participating. Hopefully you guys in the audience have learned something. And if you want to come check out Lincoln and see some of the things that we've been describing, we have our 2026 open days coming up in just a few weeks on the 4th and 5th of July. So feel free to drop by. Hopefully we'll see some of you in September. Thank you for watching.